You know, my lady, in my earlier life, before the people of Kenya decided to bring me to this side of the divide, I was a constant visitor before you in not very pleasant circumstances. So anytime you invite me, I'm a bit hesitant because appearing before you in different circumstances is rather traumatizing. But we are healing slowly, and this continuous appearing before you completes that healing. This was a high-level delegation of skilled and experienced judicial officers. The symposium was, therefore, a platform to share experiences and good practices. Being a discussion on climate change, it was a time to also understand how the judicial system can contribute to countering this phenomena that has posed an existential threat to humanity in Africa and the rest of the world. Allow me to highlight two examples of good practices from Kenya. In the year 2022, the Environment and Land Court planted trees across the country to mark 10 years since establishment. This was a boost to the executive's plan of planting at least 15 billion trees by the year 2032. Further, since the COVID-19 experience, the courts accelerated going paperless through digitization of service. Progressively, this will reduce pressure on trees cut down for paper. Distinguished delegates, diverse research shows that detentions and prisons in most African countries hold more than thrice their capacity. In others, more than half of the detainees are petty offenders. Petty offenders are punishable by a fine, jail term, or both. Most of these people are hustlers. In other words, they may not raise the fines. Instead of custodial sentences, I urge the judiciary to embrace environmental conservation sentence, as has been recommended in a host of criminal justice reports. Distinguished delegates, Kenya is committed to environmental justice. You recall that last November, President William Ruto led the Kenyan delegation to the 27th Conference of the Parties, COP27, to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt. Among other issues, the President highlighted the polluter pay principle. This is to compensate countries whose contribution to pollution is negligible, a majority being in Africa. While lagging implementation of the climate compensation model, we count on the judiciary to issue precedent-setting judgments. Such judgments will also inform new laws or reviews thereof for the benefit of the people. Further, Africa is leading in championing a sustainable development and ensuring a clean and healthy environment. As the coordinator of the Committee of African Heads of State and Government on Climate Change, President William Ruto will convene a continental summit focusing on climate action in 2024. Distinguished delegates, as recognized in the Johannesburg Principles on the role of law and sustainable development, the judiciary should be informed on the rapidly expanding boundaries of environmental law. They must also be aware of their role and responsibilities in promoting the implementation, development, and enforcement of laws, regulations, and international agreements relating to sustainable development. Lady Chief Justice, distinguished delegates, the importance of your discussion at this symposium cannot be gainsaid. The regulatory, legislative, and adjudicative framework in matters of environment is key in the wider conservation and regeneration strategy. In Kenya, we are taking the necessary steps, including supporting amendments towards strengthening the Climate Change Act 2016. I urge the public and other interested parties to comment comprehensively on the proposed amendments through the ongoing public participation process. Distinguished delegates, emphasis must be placed on the outcome of this symposium and the next steps in strengthening our national and regional legal frameworks for environmental protection and conservation. Reflecting on the judiciary of Kenya's social transformation through access to justice, institutional vision, emphasis must be on people-centered justice and the tangible benefits for the peoples of our respective jurisdictions. We must not forget strategies, policies, and interventions with the most tangible benefits. Distinguished delegates, as I conclude, allow me to emphasize that judicial outcomes and principles emerging from your adjudication of environmental matters in informing strategic and policy atmosphere within which all other actors operate. Finally, I invite our visitors to sample the sceneries, experiences, and the diverse Kenyan hospitality before flying back home. Take time to visit the Masai Mara and sample our exotic wildlife species. If you get time, fly to the coastal town of Mombasa and enjoy our exotic beaches as you enjoy the hospitality of the Kenyan people. Distinguished delegates, it is now my honor to declare the 3rd Regional Symposium on Greening Judiciaries in Africa officially closed. I don't want to say anything outside my official script. I just want to pass warm regards from President William Ruto, who is out of the country on official duty. He has told me to pass his greetings. He told me that he was very happy to engage you on Monday. And he told me once more to remind the Kenyan judiciary of his commitment and that of his government to protect and promote the independence of the judiciary and allow you space and empower you to dispense justice without hindrance. And it is his position that an independent, strong judiciary is good for any country, and it is good for Kenya. Thank you very much. May God bless you. Asanteni sana. Thank you.